Hi folks, good day to you all. So myself Sarath, Deputy Manager for the BIM at Nippon Koi International Private Limited. So here in today's session, I'm going to talk about strategic tailoring of BIM. So many of us have already known about the project management and all the knowledge areas and all those things. So today we are going to discuss, or I'm going to dive deep into the topic, how BIM can be tailored. So the agenda for today's sessions will be how it is tailored, how the goals are identified within the projects, how the BIM maturity levels are assessed, what are the case studies or use cases in AECO projects, also how the tailoring of BIM is very much necessary and how it can be implemented overcoming the challenges. And obviously, it can be all done in a great success if you are able to measure this. So we will see through all these things in our today's presentation. And by with this, I start. So as we all are aware, BIM has got multi-dimensions. The development of BIM or the implementation of BIM in various projects is in a rapid phase. It is not easy for everyone to implement all parts of BIM or all dimensions of BIM in every project. As you can see, in the initial times when BIM was used as just as a 3D model, now it has reached up to 7D where it can be managed according to the asset management plans and also incorporate the safety concerns. So the dimensions of BIM is increasing rapidly, and to incorporate all these characters of BIM in a project is a bit difficult. Obviously, this is the place in which we have to think what can be done to incorporate all these features of BIM, right from 3D to the 7D and finally the emerging 8D. Do we actually need all these dimensions in our AECO project, or should we go with the required ones? So this will be the first topic. Do we really need to tailor the BIM requirement, or is strategic tailoring an important concept? So as you can see, incorporating all the features of BIM means that we are going to incorporate lots of information, right? Starting from 3D modeling to the 7D means it becomes a sophisticated projects. And think about it if you are dealing with a mega projects or a mega structure projects. So incorporating all the features of BIM make the project a complex one. Also, the initial cost for this implementation becomes much bigger because the expertise, the facilities, the infrastructure required for this implementation, the resource allocation, all goes in a very high manner. So it also creates a problem in which the data is getting overloaded. As you can see, the BIM 3D models, BIM models, which is starting from 3D to 7D, has a variety of parameters, a variety of informations incorporated within this. So it's not just about data overloading also, it is intensive use of our resources across the various dimensions, across the various discipline levels. It also reduces the core focus in which the BIM is implemented for the project. Suppose, say, if someone wants the BIM in a project to make it as an asset model or to ensure the facility management, by incorporating all the others, create a huge variation in meeting the actual requirement, which is the asset management plan, such as when we go for the schedule analysis, when you go for the clash detections, the resource which needs to be incorporated, the methodologies need to be incorporated, gets increases. So the data overloading along with the increased cost all becomes a feature or a common thing when we go to implement all the features of BIM. So how we can do this? So first thing is that optimizing resource allocation. So the first thing is that you need to identify what exactly the scope of BIM in this particular project is, so that the project goal is clearly defined, the scope is clearly defined, which ensures the budget and resource to be utilized in an optimized manner. It also helps to reduce the training as well as the onboarding costs. As you can see, the more the dimensions of BIM are included in the project, more expertise are to be incorporated. So by having a clear scope, by ensuring what exact features of BIM are required in this project, we will be able to come up with the best resources in an optimized manner. The other best part is that the implementation time for the project gets narrowed down. Rather than incorporating the entire features of BIM, if we are concentrating on the real features which is actually required in this project, the implementation time comparatively gets very lower. This has been proven many projects with my past experience. I have seen that if you are focusing on a project based on a particular dimensions or what actually the scope of BIM is required in that project, we are we are able to clearly identify the path, which definitely reduces the time. Also, the data management. As mentioned earlier, if suppose the BIM is implemented in a project aiming at facility management, the various levels of development of BIM models can be identified in the given milestone stages. This not only gives us time to develop the model, it also provides exact data dimensions based on the operations and maintenance team's input, which helps the model to have relevant parameters included so that the asset management criteria of BIM is maintained. When you tailor this BIM, when the requirement is only focused, the overall productivity in which the BIM is getting improvised or induced into the project is very much visible. It serves the purpose with 100% results. This also makes sure that you have a very good enhanced coordination in your project, which reduces miscommunication and thereby increasing the efficiency. So the next major question comes is how to identify the project goals, especially the BIM goals. So as you can see, the stakeholder analysis is the first key thing. You will have to identify what exactly the requirement is based on the stakeholders' input. We will have to clearly define the objective, access the current capabilities, and assess the resources based on current capabilities. Determine what are the key BIM uses. So, prioritize the BIM features. Develop the BIM execution plan, that is a BEP. Monitor and adjust it and measure the success. So let me just dive deep into this. So when we are implementing a BIM in a particular project, it is with the joint discussion with the client and the contractors with the consultants together identify what actual reason of BIM is in this particular project. If it is identified that clash-free models are to be obtained from this BIM models, the idea is very clear. The LOD 400 model is the priority, in which the construction drawing, IFC drawings issued for construction drawings are extracted from the BIM models, which are sent to the site for the construction purpose. This motive, when adapted to the project, like The objective of the BIM model in this particular project is to make sure that every drawings good for construction drawings are extracted from BIM models, means the scope is very much clear. So we should not be running behind the 4D of BIM. We should not be running behind the asset management part of the BIM or something else. So the objective becomes very clear. So we don't need to have a person who is very much expertised in Primavera to link our Revit file with Primavera file and then to show the walkthrough representation in Naviswork or something like that. The scope becomes very clear that we can hire the expertise in that particular level. The delivery milestones can be easily identified, and so is the BIM execution plan. The just as like a project charter gives a clear idea, the project implementation plan developed based on this inputs gives a clear idea about how the tailored BIM implementation strategies can be put into use and how it can be benefited. So it is also important while implementing all this, we need to understand the BIM maturity levels. So the BIM maturity levels as per ISO 19650 starts from 0 to level 3. In level 1, it's nothing, sorry, at level 0, there is no collaboration between the models, it's just 2D CAD draft. While when it goes to the level 1, it will be about the 2D as well as the 3D standardized process. At the level 2, CD, the common data environment also comes in place and integration also takes place. So the fully matured level can be considered as a level 3, tier 3 levels. So these are the maturity levels which we all know, starting from level 0 to level 3. Identify at what maturity level our project is going to be. Sorry. We'll also have to establish a clear assessment criteria in which what BIM softwares are to be kept put into use. So for example, it's not only a particular software now defining the BIM. Multi-machinery companies, automobile firms are coming up with more mechanical oriented softwares which are to be incorporated in the BIM. So identifying or use of the BIM softwares and tools with the integration capabilities is also very much important. We will also have to conduct a BIM readiness survey. We will have to create a detailed questionnaire to evaluate the current use of BIM in technology, processes, people, and policy. We also need to evaluate the technology use, identifying the capabilities of the software, assessing the hardware support, and also the infrastructure support, and how the data are being stored. The review of the workflows, the review of the entire workflow is also mandatory, which will be implemented with the help of BEP, which clearly define how the BIM is going to be incorporated in the project and what are its main objectives. The next important step will be to assess the people and skills. Over the various levels from 0 to 3, the level of expertise changes as per the each considered levels. As we can see, the level 3 professionals are much more capable as they incorporate almost the entire scope of the BIM. We need to assess their skills. We need to improve it by giving the advanced trainings and also collaborating and communicating with the other team members. We need to implement this BIM maturity models concept to the entire team so that they are also having the career path or they are able to understand their growth in their career. This all helps to come up with an improvised implementation plans. So BIM use cases in AECO projects is also very important. The major thing in which the AECO industry depends the BIM is definitely, as we all know, is for the design and visualization purpose. To a next level, it can be used for the coordination and clash detection, along with the quantity takeoff and estimation. As mentioned earlier, construction planning and sequencing, which is the 4D operations, facility management, sustainability analysis, legal and compliance documentation, renovation and retrofittings. So nowadays, BIM is extensively used in fit-out projects also to ensure that the LOD 400 models from the precise manufacturers are used to manage the spaces, to use the particular software for space planning. So as we mentioned, all these features, all these maturity levels cannot be incorporated in every projects. We need to tailor them. We need to tailor them according to the project requirement. So this is the place in which we will be discussing about tailoring the projects, tailoring the BIM according to the project requirements. As mentioned, we will be identifying what exactly the scope of BIM should be in this particular project. According to this requirement, what we can ensure is that we put the required resources which needs to be incorporated in this particular project to ensure that the BIM goal is met. By doing so, what we can do is that we can implement a tailored BIM workflow. It is not necessary that as all the dimensions of BIM are to be incorporated. Implementing the quality assurance and validation becomes more easier, and you get a better performance analysis and feedback based on the limited implementations of the BIM. So how this can be implemented in the project? As we know, typically we go for all the procedures because the client will be requiring all the dimensions of BIMs in their project, so they can say that okay, everything goes well. But does it really all goes well when we incorporate all the features of BIM? Definitely not. It increases cost, it increases everything as we discussed. So how this can be implemented? The detailed BIM execution plan is the key thing. So to reach this, obviously, we need to talk to the stakeholders. We need to talk to the team members on why the BIM is getting implemented. So once the idea of implementation of BIM is fixed, we can easily implement the tailored BIM approach in this project. We can customize the BIM tools and technologies. We can implement the required training and support programs, the which ensures the compliance and quality. And what happens is that rather than communicating about all the features of BIM, we can easily identify the requirement and make sure that the stakeholder engagement is in the best mode within the project. So at the end of the day, the communication becomes crystal clear about the usage of BIM, why it is being used and for what it is being used and where do we lack. So this stakeholder relationship, this stakeholder engagement makes the implementation of tailored BIM a great success. As we all know, when we strategize to tailor the BIM, it comes with the challenges. So the major challenge will be to identify the scope of BIM within the project. It is not easy to identify whether the BIM has to be used for visualization purpose, for the schedule monitoring purpose, to get the reduction of cost and time by incorporating the clash-free models and all fabrication level detailing, etc. Whether it has to be for the facility management. This part is the toughest part when we come to the project monitoring, like implementing of them in this particular project. So it also follows with the skills and training gaps because the conventional method is not being followed. The followed method is different as we have a tailored approach. So if our system or our organization is performing in a regular format that cannot be followed, we have to come up with a different strategy. The interdisciplinary coordinations based on the functional metrics or function, whether it is a functional organization or a metrics organization or a projectized organization, this poses some challenges. The data management and quality assurance, as we are tailoring the scope of BIM, becomes a challenge. And obviously, we know that it is a change. It is an adopting of new strategy. So the change management and adoption has to be taken very carefully so that it doesn't have a huge impact. And last but not the least, legal and contractual considerations are very much important because when we tailor BIM, we have to make sure that ISO 19650 basic standards, BIM standards are not being violated. There should not be any contradictions between the standards when we tailor the BIM so that later on it becomes a legal constraints also. By doing all these things, definitely a project can be a huge success. And how to measure success is also as important. So as we discussed, once we have defined clear objectives and matrices, once we are having a implement data collection methodologies and monitoring system, when we can do a regular assessments and review, once you continuously improve and adapt to the challenges, communicating the result and celebrating achievements all becomes the factors to measure your success. To have a case study, I go for the Green Tower development project. It is a high-rise building project located in a metropolis, and it aimed to achieve the LEED Platinum certification. So the implementation of BIM use was for design and visualization, construction sequencing, sustainability analysis, cost estimation, and facility management. The uses of BIM was clearly defined in this particular project. So the reason why I am quoting this project is that the project was a huge success by incorporating a BIM in cost and time, enhancing the collaboration, and the most important thing, the client was satisfied in which the BIM was imparted with the project. So it is very clear that tailoring the BIM according to the project obviously gives an opportunity to improvise. It should not be considered as a threat. It should be considered as an opportunity because the risk of tailoring comes when properly implemented as an opportunity within the projects. So with that, I end my presentation by quoting this. Success and enthusiasm becomes a habit when doing things differently, not by doing different things. I hope I have done success and I have delivered my understanding of tailoring of BIM and its importance in our AECO projects. Thank you once again for being with me, and I am available to connect in LinkedIn and we can discuss further on these topics. Thank you. Thank you everyone for listening to me.